Good afternoon, everybody. It will be quick and brief, but hopefully we'll leave those of you that have heard me for the first time with something to take back to your businesses. To my poor fellow presenters and fellow committee members, I apologize. I really tried hard to bring some new subject matter into this presentation, but I realized the way I do it now is the best way. So just grin and bear it. It's really just 3 slides. It's first of all to introduce to you the relationship between insurance, short-term insurance that is, and RTMS. Secondly, it's to try and convince you, those guys that are thinking about RTMS, that insurance is a wonderful finance method to pay for Oliver's hugely overinflated fees that he charges for his audits. Insurance can actually be utilized to pay for your RTMS certification. And then finally, my last slide is just some really important tips back from the insurance industry, how to avoid that calamitous word called repudiation, which we all, I hope you never have to deal with. I, unfortunately, in my profession as a broker, have to deal with it quite often. So without any further ado, let's get straight into the relationship between RTMS and insurance. And I think a nice way of describing RTMS and insurance is if you think about brandy and Coke. They work well together. So RTMS and insurance are very, very similar, as you can see. The risk management aspect comes through. You'd have heard a whole lot of presentations by now, and all of them would have addressed those aspects: driver behavior, maintenance of vehicles, overloading, and your compliance issues, your municipal licenses, etc., etc. Those are all just as important in managing an insurance portfolio. They pay, that is probably 95% risk management program within an insurance environment, and it's exactly the same for RTMS as well. And the second aspect of similarity is that they can both, if they handle correctly, can both save you money. And a previous speaker did mention the tight margins that are currently exist in your industry. I was with a transport economist, Mike Schussler, yesterday, and a slide that really to me was significant showed how much more rail costs had increased in comparison with road freight costs. In other words, what you people can charge, not costs, what you people are charging, your fees. And that to me was quite significant. Over, I think, a 12-year period, what your industry can charge has really not increased nearly as much as what your actual costs, your input costs have. So it is a very fine line that you guys are walking, and if you don't look after things like your diesel consumption and et cetera, and your insurance, you're going to be in trouble quite quickly. Okay, the second slide was how can RTMS actually save money, specifically in terms of insurance. I finally got the industry, the insurance industry, to understand RTMS and to recognize the benefits, and I think it's now almost a formal discounting structure on most insurers' underwriting criteria. So if you are RTMS certified, you do stand a very good chance of getting a good discount on your fleet. What that means to you in rands and cents depends on the size of your fleet and the cost of your vehicles, etc., obviously. A major cost for anybody is an accident. Regardless of whether you're well insured, an accident is always going to cost you money, unfortunately, and significant money. If you're RTMS certified, the chances, and you would have heard in stats earlier on, the decrease in the severity and also the frequency of accidents. So by doing that, you are saving money. RTMS will ensure that you don't have those insurable incidents. Now, claims ratio is something that you might be familiar with. It's how the insurer judges you. It's like if you look at someone's IQ, that means they, you know, like mine, my age has actually overtaken my IQ just recently. Loss ratio, claims ratio is what the insurance industry use to determine whether you're a good guy or a bad guy. If you can improve your loss ratio, in other words, the ratio between your accidents or your claims and your premium, if that gets better, if it stays under 100%, you're doing okay. If it's under 60%, you're great. All the insurers would love to have you. If it's over 100%, you're going to get a Dear Johnny letter increasing your premiums or actually telling you to go and find another insurer. So if you can keep that healthy, your premiums will stay lower. If you do run a very tight ship, one can start looking at alternative insurance structures. You don't just have to have your normal traditional comprehensive insurance arrangement. There are other very easily manageable structures that can save you a lot of money, and that you need to talk to your broker about. If you can't find your broker, I'll give you my number shortly. And then, finally, how to save money with RTMS is avoiding the repudiations that I'm going to discuss now in my last slide. That is catastrophic. I had the most recent one. In fact, it was a repudiation that led to me picking up a new client. The guy was transporting copper cobalt, and the broker had forgotten to add it onto his GIT policy as an extension because it's basically excluded. And his truck went over in Van Rieenen, and it's a 1.6 million rand loss of copper cobalt ore. It was just raw ore, actually. And the client has been debited and he's had to pick it up. It was repudiated. The insurers just turned around and said, but it's not covered. The guy said, but I told my broker to tell you. He said, well, the broker didn't tell me. So that's 1.6 million rand, little cost quickly. So needless to say, he changed brokers quite quickly. And of course, being the good broker that I am, I'm getting the claim paid. That's the end of the story. They did understand that there's a big difference between copper and raw ore. And it was also not a theft-related accident. And the insurers saw it my way, and fortunately they're paying. So a round of applause for a good broker. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Now I'm going to give you some inside information as to how insurers think. And the first thing you must know is that they're not a charitable institution and they hate paying claims. All of them. So don't listen to all the adverts on the radios. The assessor plays a role in every claim. He'll come in and he'll try and do his job in favor of the person who's paying his invoice, which is the insurer. So he will come in and check that you've complied with the terms and conditions of your policy, which roadworthiness is one of them, which is fine. You could have a roadworthy vehicle and you've got your valid COF, but if he goes and he looks at your tires and your brakes and he finds that they're not roadworthy, if they're not correct or whatever, he will go back to the insurer and say that the vehicle wasn't roadworthy, and they probably won't pay your claim, depending on the value of the claim. Expired certificates of fitness, invalid driver's licenses, big thing. It happened recently also. A client had a falsified driver's license, and the insurer did walk away from the claim. And that's a tough one, because it says very clearly you must have a valid driver's license. Now, I believe that that's a bit of a grey area in the industry, because we don't have formal structures where we can verify these licenses, particularly foreign driver's licenses. I'm working very hard to try and find an organization that is affordable and practical so that you can actually just have your licenses checked, in which case you're fine as far as this type of thing is concerned. Non-functional tracking devices, if your vehicle gets stolen and it's not working, they will check. Very easy to check. You call for the trip report and if they say it wasn't working, again, they could walk away from that claim. And to suddenly have a vehicle stolen and your insurer turns around and says, sorry, I'm not going to pay you, it's not going to be a good day in your life. And of course, overloading. It's either loaded legally or it's loaded illegally. There's nothing on the fence there. So if it's over and the insurer establishes by looking at your documents that it was over, he may walk away from that claim. Now, all of those, if you look at them as they stand there, are areas that are monitored very closely if you are RTMS certified. It's part of your system. It's part of your daily DNA routine, and it can avoid this type of nasty event happening. So, guys, I hope I've given you a lesson. There's my contact details. You're welcome. I serve on the committee of the RTMS. I can advise you. I can, if you've got any questions, you're welcome to contact me. And otherwise, yeah, be safe out there. Thank you.